Okay.
Oh, Evie start his sharing his screen right now.
So now I can mute myself.
Yes, thank you, Mohammed,
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
incredible presentation.
Yes, with pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, able to hear me?
Yes, very clear, Eve. Welcome to the Lux OG.
Thank you. So can we start?
Yes, please. I will mute myself right now, and
Okay.
I will be around if you need something.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good morning, good evening, some part. So today we are going to discuss and talk about Oracle sharding. So thanks for the opportunity, LUXOUG, Virtual Tech Days. So about me, I'm Ravi Kumar Enugula. I'm Oracle Certified Master and Oracle ACE Director and co-author of 3 Oracle books. One is Upgrade and Migration Methods, and second one, High Availability and Disaster Recovery and Cloud Services, and third one, Oracle Golden Gate with Microservices. And I am co-author of 100 plus articles in Oracle Technology Network. It has published in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. And I'm a speaker at, I was a speaker at Oracle Open World and Independent Oracle User Group. So our Oracle ACE program, 500 plus technical experts globally. There are 3 levels: Oracle ACE Director, Oracle ACE, and Oracle ACE Associate. Basically, we are helping Oracle community. So if you're fit, you can nominate yourself or someone you know, they can nominate you in any one of the category. And today's agenda, what is sharding and underlying architecture? What are the benefits and deployment models? How Oracle Exadata can leverage sharding architecture, and what are the methods and how we can deploy sharding in our database. So in simple terms, sharding is not a new feature. Already some of the NoSQL databases are using, but Oracle has introduced sharding with RDBMS capabilities. So in simple terms, we can say it is a database architecture. The data is horizontally in different databases. So we will have one database splitting into smaller databases. So each smaller databases runs in dedicated server, dedicated storage. We can see later on slides how each shard will up and running. So in each database, sharding configuration referred as a shard. If I have multiple shards, or all shards together make up a single logical group called sharded database. So in each database, sharding configured, in rest of the slides I will specify shards. So each shard contains table with same columns but different set of rows. Basically, we are segregating the table data into multiple physical dedicated servers. It's like I can compare with our feature table partitioning. So there we will partition the table in a server. Here we are splitting the table data into multiple pieces in a different physical servers. So here you can see, when I say horizontal partitioning across independent databases, means I have a table, I'm splitting the table, or I will store the table in different shards. So each shard will have its own physical server and its own Oracle software. So in later slides, we can see how I can insert the data, how I can access the data. So here, each shard, it can be a single node, single instance node, or it can be a real application clusters. I mean a cluster nodes, or it can be a pluggable database. So each shard will be replicated for high availability using either DataGuard or Oracle Golden Gate. For each shard, you no need to implement either DataGuard or Golden Gate. While doing deployment, it will ask you how many shards you have, how many shards you need high availability. In last slides, coming slides, I will show you how the deployment will works. So as I mentioned earlier, for application, for any user, it will be a single logical DB, but it will be sharded into n physical databases. So here each shard will have its own CPU, memory, disk, and software. It won't share anything between the shards except data. So here, if you see left-hand side, I have traditional Oracle database with employee table. I have so-and-so rows. When I'm transforming this employee table into sharded database, based on condition, based on sharding key, based on application requirements, based on application configuration, it will split my complete employee table into two different sharded database. In right hand side, you are able to see the employee column rows, and left hand side, we transformed traditional Oracle database into sharded databases. In middle of the diagram, you have sharded catalog. Here, catalog will have only employees metadata. It won't have any employee table related rows or transactions. So whenever the application transforms or pushing the data, it has to come through sharded catalog. From there, it will go to respective sharded databases. So the catalog database, it will have only the metadata. Your sharded databases will have transactions. So as I told you, horizontal partitioning of data across, it can go up to 1,000 independent Oracle databases. So in shard catalog, in previous diagram, you will have only the metadata. In sharded databases, you will have table with the same name but different subset of rows. For example, I have a table with the 10 rows. Maybe 5 rows will be sharded database 1. Remaining 5 rows will be sharded database 2. But my sharded catalog will have only the metadata, I mean structure of the tables. So how this partitioning will occur? So the data partitioning will occur based on sharding key. So before you are transforming your application or your single instance or your Oracle database into sharding, first we have to know what will be the sharding key. If you don't have any sharding key, we can see in later slides how Oracle will guide you into the sharding methodologies. So NoSQL databases already they made easy to deploy sharding, and Oracle database comes with full-featured RDBMS. So I have a table A. Some of the partitions are in shard 1, some of the partitions in shard 2, some of the partitions in shard 3, and some of the partitions in shard N. So you can go up to 1,000 shards, independent Oracle databases. So there are compatibility requirements for shards. Oracle sharding requires minimum release of Oracle RDBMS version 12.2. When they release Oracle sharding in Oracle RDBMS 12.2, it does not support multi-tenant. So they started supporting Oracle multi-tenant from the release of Oracle 18c. And they started supporting multiple pluggable databases shards per CDB from Oracle sharding 19c. I think everybody knows 18c is the family of 12c. For example, 12.2.0.0 is 18c, 12.2.0.3.0 is Oracle 19c. So 18c and 19c basically the family of Oracle RDBMS 12c. So from 19c, it started supporting multi-tenant with multiple PDBs shards per CDB. So you can see the evaluation of Oracle sharding. They started with 12.2 and 18c they started rack sharding and PDB sharding, and 19c they started multiple PDBs shards per CDB, and 20c you can say multi-shard DMLs, and they are introducing sharding advisor and identification of sharding key. We will discuss before implementing Oracle sharding, what are the steps or what are the prerequisites application has to do to find the shard key. If you don't have from 19c, it will automatically identify the sharding key. So even federated sharding is available from Oracle 20c. So I have a customer's table, one mission critical database. I can place each shard in a different geographic zones. For example, customers data related to North America, I can place in a cloud. Customers data related data in customers table, I can place in Europe in on-premise. Customers data related to customers of Asia, I can place either on-premise or hybrid or cloud. So these are the benefits. You can place the data based on geographic using sharding. So the capability, extreme scalability or capability for each shard, I can add dynamically shardings to the customers related to NA, customers related to Europe, customers related to Asia. When I'm doing any rolling upgrades, it won't affect the rest of the customers. For example, I'm doing a rolling upgrade for customers Asia. It won't impact customers Europe and customers NA, because we have seen in the beginning of the slides, each shard won't share anything. So it will have its own physical server, its own related Oracle softwares. It won't share the storage also. So the rolling upgrade, when you're doing adding sharding for scalability, if you're doing any downtime activities for customers Asia sharding database, it won't impact other customers in our sharding architecture. So adding the shards online, basically to increase the database and throughput. When you add the shards online to increase the database size, the rebalance will happen automatically. For example, if you have like ASM, when you're adding the disk to the ASM disk group based on your ASM power limit, it automatically rebalance newly added to the disk. Based on redundancy, either high normal redundancy or high redundancy, when something goes wrong for one disk, automatically rebalance will happen based on the redundancy. Same here, when you're adding the shards online to the sharded database, rebalance will happen automatically. So I have 3 shards. When I'm adding new shard, automatically the rebalance will happen. So instead of 3, now it is 4 with rebalanced data. So we know now what is sharded database. Like block is the lowest level of granularity in our Oracle database. In sharding, the name called chunk is the lowest level of granularity. So group of related partitions of a sharded table family, if you can see the example, chunk number 1 contains customers partition, orders tables partition, line items partition. So one chunk can store couple of tables partitions. So if you want to like moving the table space, adding the data file related to Oracle database, like here the moving is ensured automatically or DBA can manually do it. The one of the process you can move the chunks using recovery manager RMAN, and you can use transportable table space also. So here I can compare the block is a lower level granularity. Here in shardings, we can say chunk is the lowest level of granularity. So each chunk can store multiple partitions of different sharded tables. So the flexibility for deployment sharding, either you can go for on-premise, either you could go for complete cloud, or you can go for hybrid cloud. Again, in that, you can go for single instance, you can go for multi-tenant, I mean pluggable database, or Oracle Exadata, or it can be cluster of nodes, nothing but RAC. So even Oracle Exadata started supporting the sharding, and we know Exadata is completely pre-tested, pre-configured by Oracle, and it have capabilities of smart scan, flash cache, hybrid columnar compression, storage index. So all these capabilities of related to query offloading, it will holds good for sharding also. And based on sharding's features and Oracle Exadata storage cells features, it will be a robust system for sharded related applications. So what are the benefits? Auto deployment will allow you, or it will do the high availability disaster recovery configuration for you. You no need to take care of either data guard or golden gate configurations. In the coming slides, I will show you when you deploy how it will automatically configure active data guard for us while doing the deployment. And we know we have multiple sharding methods based on the application, and centralized schema maintenance. Schema will be maintained in only one place, nothing but shard catalog. So the global service accesses any shard from the shard catalog, and you can route to the particular shard based on direct routing or proxy routing. We will see what is direct routing, what is proxy routing. And we know elastic scaling with auto rebalance. When you add the shard to the sharded database, automatically the rebalance will happen at shard database level. And the high availability features, compression and advanced security, online schema changes, everything holds good for Oracle sharding. And the major difference between NoSQL sharding and Oracle RDBMS sharding, it will guarantees ACID properties and read consistency. And rolling updates, we saw that it won't impact other shards. And I know you can see there are two major customers already. They are using Oracle sharding. Even in they implemented in Oracle Cloud. So these are the applications, custom OLTP applications. We can use sharding And as I told you, the characteristics, sharding is not an application transparent, means when you design the Oracle sharding, you have to look at the table structures and what will be the sharding key. Based on your sharding key, your shard catalog, when you're trying to access the shards, it will automatically redirect to the particular shards. So it's like I can compare directly with partitioning table. You know, partitioning table, we have the range partition, list partition, composite, and hash. So same here also, Oracle sharding comes with system managed is nothing but consistent hash, user defined, it is a range or list, and composite sharding. It is a combination of either range consistent hash and list consistent hash. So these are the three models Oracle sharding will provide for the application. So when I go for system managed sharding, user won't have that much control. So data is automatically distributed across based on the partitioning key. And user defined, you will have control on your data where exactly it is placing. And composite, we are going to use combination of range consistent and list consistent. And these are the, I can say, differences between system managed sharding, user defined, composite. So if you see in a composite, it requires two sharding keys. One is super sharding key and a sharding key, because we are providing two levels of data organization based on range consistent or list with consistent. So in composite sharding, we need two sharding keys. So first it will go to super sharding key. Based on super sharding key, it will derive the sharding key where exactly it has to go to sharded database. So these are the sharded tables example. If you see the first one, I have to specify what is the key for this table, sharding key, and partition by consistent hash. Consistent hash is nothing but system managed. And in second table structure, you can see we have taken the ordered tables based on list consistent. And if you see third table, I am using both combination of list and consistent hash. When I see the partition set will derive the composite sharding. So I have two sets based on my partition by consistent hash and partition set by list. So I will derive based on 0, one of the column, and based on the customer ID, I will derive consistent hash. Based on these two, partition by list on geo column, partition by customer ID based on consistent hash, I will derive the composite sharding. So when you're configuring, for example, when you're configuring two sharded databases, you have to concentrate only 2 sharded databases. For you, the physical standby setup using either Active Data Guard or Data Guard based on licenses, it will automatically create and configure disaster recovery for each sharded database for you. That is the biggest advantage of Oracle sharding. You no need to set up disaster recovery, I mean Active Data Guard setup for your sharded databases. So here Oracle is providing 2 disaster recovery high availability methods. One, either you can go for Oracle Active Data Guard or Oracle Golden Gate. And if you want each shard database will be highly available, you can go for cluster nodes for each sharded databases using RAC. So we are talking about shard catalog, shards, sharded database. So what are those? So we can see overall the components. One is global service and shard directories, connection pools, shard catalog, and shards in shard database. So in this diagram, you can see your clients or application servers pass a sharding key based on table and based on application. It will go to the connection pool. Connection is routed through the right shard. So when I am connecting from application servers, it will go to, based on shard key, it will go to shard catalog. From shard catalog, it will redirect to shard directories. So shard directories will have complete information based on your sharding key, how to spread the data to particular, or how to direct the data to particular sharded database. So client, when your client passes the sharding key, it will go to the connection pool. From there, it is routed to right shard based on shard catalog and shard directories. So even I can say here one more point. The shard director, like our listener, here the shard director is a regional listener for all clients connected to a shard database. For example, I have a database, one database with 4 shards. They will use only global service. For example, my database name is SH. They will use SH. So the SH, when comes to shard catalog, shard directories, it will automatically redirect to the particular sharded databases. So here, the application requirements. For example, if you want to do the partition table, either range or hash or list or composite, we should know the key. Based on the key, you will be segregating the partition table, either composite or range. Here also, when you know the sharding key, it will go to the direct routing. So your JDBC, UCP, Universal Protocol, OCI, this will recognize your sharding keys. So direct routing will be based on sharding key. When you know the sharding key for OLTP workloads, when you specify the sharding key, it will automatically takes care of which shard it has to go. So other way, when you don't know the sharding key, your proxy routing will help you to coordinate the connection part, how it has to go to shard catalog, from there how it has to go to shard directors, from there how it has to go to the sharded. So you can go for direct routing based on sharding key, or you can go for proxy routing. So the database connections, the integrated connection pools must use either JDBC, ODP.NET is a standard connection pools. It will support for your Oracle sharding. So in my server, one of the customer POC, I have created two primary shards. Shard 1, you can see in the middle, host SH1 and SH2. So I have configured two shards, shard 1 and shard 2, and I have a left hand side shard catalog, and the right hand side, as I told you, when you deploy the sharding technology based on number of shards you are derived, or based on number of shards you are going to configure, automatically the deploy will take care of your active data guard implementation with data guard broker, and it will enable fast start failover, FSFO. So you no need to configure either active data guard or Oracle Golden Gate for disaster recovery. Your deployment command will take care of automatically, especially active data guard. It will configure data guard broker. On top of data guard broker, it will enable fast start failover, FSFO, for your sharded databases. So we'll see when you execute deploy how it works. So here for me, something is missing in this diagram. For example, shard catalog is the complete metadata, is a single point contact for your application servers, for your clients. If something goes wrong for your shard catalog, so anyway, Oracle is providing complete high availability. Even I can configure for high availability for shard catalog also. So if you see here, my shard catalog will have standby also using data guard. So here the high availability for shard catalog is available using active data guard. I have two shards in primary, SH1, SH2. The deploy command, while deploying Oracle sharding configuration, it will automatically configure active data guard for you. In our diagram, I have primary SH1 with active data guard enabled SH3. I have a primary shard SH2 enabled with active data guard SH4, and on top for shard catalog I have standby also. So if you see, the complete high availability at shard catalog, at sharded databases are available. Even if you want the shard catalog. Till now, we have seen single shard catalog database. If you want, the shard catalog should be in RAC. If you want to implement real application clusters, you can go for it. So in that case, you will have two instances at primary for shard catalog and two instances at standby for shard catalog in disaster recovery system. Between these two, we will be enabling by default when you deploy data guard. So I have secured my shard catalog with single point of failure with cluster nodes, and I have secured my shard catalog with disaster recovery services using either Active Data Guard or Golden Gate. So these are some of the slides. If you want to go for Oracle sharding, you need a piece of software called GSM. So that software you can download like in from Oracle downloads. So this GSM software, we have to install and configure only in one place. It will be in shard catalog. You don't need this information or this piece of software in sharded databases. Either you can go for GUI installation or you can go for silent installation. So this complete Oracle sharding step by step in my second book, we have written completely with the deployment, and we have tested with switchover and failover, and we have tested with the transactions. So after installing GSM software in shard catalog server, we have to do some of the parameter changes. For example, open underscore links per instance. And we have to create some of the users, and we have to assign privileges in shard catalog. And using GDS tool, GDS-CTL, like it's a data guard broker, we'll be using DGM GRL. Like for GSM, for Oracle sharding, you have a command line utility called GDS-CTL. So after getting into GDS-CTL, I can create shard catalog with specified GSM admin and what are my regions. So basically it is a configuration, how many shards you need and how many shard groups. Let's say, for example, I have 2 shard groups. In each shard group, how many sharded databases you have to accommodate. So these are the configurations. One time we have to do it in shard catalog database. And in shard catalog, there will be a agent registration that you have to set it, and we have to open for sharded databases. So that if you see the second picture in my slide, I'm registering shard catalog with my agent with standard port 8080. So I have 4 sharded databases.
for each sharded database, you have to register using SCH agent of shard catalog port, so that my agents will keep listening to the shard catalog. And these are some of the commands. For example, I have two shard groups, shard group 1 and shard group 2. So I'm inviting SHDB1, my sharded database 1 in sharded group 1, and SHDB2 in sharded group 2. And I'm inviting two more databases, SHDB3, SHDB4 in sharded group. So basically, my SH group, sharded group 1 will have primary shards, SHDB1 and SHDB2. My secondary SH group 2, sharded group 2 will have DB3 and DB4. So while adding shard group, I have to specify which group contains which role. So if you see here, I'm defining SH group 1 deploy as primary. Means I'm saying I have group 1, in that I have two sharded databases, namely SHDB1, SHDB2. I'm going to configure these two databases as a primary role, means my primary databases. And second, I'm saying group 2 will have two databases, DB3 and DB4. These two databases will play a role of active standby, nothing but disaster recovery systems. So in shard catalog, all these a one-time process. We have to specify how many groups, in each group how many sharded databases, and each group what role it will play, whether it is primary or active standby. Once this is done, based on this configuration, I have two sharded databases. For that, two sharded databases with active data guard. This is the excellent command. When you deploy, it will create primary with SH1, create primary SH2. If you notice here, it will automatically configure data guard for you. For example, I have SH1, it will create a data guard database for with SH3. I have primary shard SH2. For that, SH4 is the data guard configuration. So when you deploy, based on my previous command, invited node, here it will configure active data guard for you based on your groups and each group how many sharded databases. So the deploy command will run for approximately based on the requirements of how many shards. In my case, I have two sharded databases with two sharded database active data guard configuration. It ran for 30 minutes. So that process, you can see DBA under scheduler underscore running underscore jobs, you can see and you can monitor completely. So basically the deploy command, the behind scenes, the DBMS scheduler job communicates with the scheduler agents on remote host. We saw that using SCH agent in each sharded nodes, I am registering shard catalog, database and port. So when you deploy, the DBMS scheduler communicates with your scheduler agents up and running on remote host. In our case, SH4, SH1, SH2, SH3, SH4. So in our case, there are 4 remote hosts. So the shard catalog DBMS scheduler communicates with all these 4, and agents will run DBCA and NetCA configurations for you. And we know SH1 and SH2 are primary shards in shard group 1. In shard group 2, we configured as an active standby SH group 2 containing SH3 and SH4. So for that, it will automatically executes behind the scenes RMAN duplicate, and it will configure data guard broker, and your observers are started on shard director host to enable fast start failover. So RMAN duplicate data guard broker configuration and your fast start failover enable, it will happen behind the scenes of deployment command. After deployment, if you see config shard, it will show you SH1, SH2. If you see the availability online, nothing but primary. SH3, SH4 showing availability, nothing but it is standby sites. And if you see the databases, you can see the SH1 role with the primary instance, SH2 role with primary instance, and SH3, SH4 standby instances. So I have 2 groups. In each group, I have 2 sharded databases, 2 with the primary role and 2 with standby role. So this is my laptop configuration. I have one shard catalog up and running. I have 2 primary shards. I have 2 standby shards. You can see the status through GDC, like we are using DGM, GRL, we are using SQL Plus, we are using, if it is accepted, a cell CLI, all those command line interfaces. Like for Oracle sharding, you have GDSCTL. You can see the status using status database. So here, I want to enter the transactions and I want to see where it is going. So I entered the transaction in shard catalog, one of the transaction 0625 in shard catalog. So I checked in, it went to my primary shard SH2 and automatically it went to my SH4 with read only with apply, means it is active data guard. So when I enter the transaction 625 from my shard catalog, my first transaction based on sharding key of books table, books ID, it went to SH2. Automatically the transaction reflected in SH4. In my case, it is a physical standby with read only with apply. Then I did one more transaction 626 from shard catalog. It went to my shard group 1 with SH1 database, my primary shard SH1. The transaction automatically reflected in SH3 with 626 book ID. Means for me, SH1, SH3 is the physical standby. For SH2, SH4 is the physical standby. We are doing this segregation in configuration, and we saw that how the deploy will create active data guard for your SH1 and SH2 based on your how many shards you have in your configurations. You no need to worry about, let's say for example, you have 500 shards. You no need to take care of active data guard broker with fast start failover enabled. So for this 500 shards, you have to configure how many groups you want, and you have to specify in each group how many shards you want. And you have to say the shard groups, whether it's a primary role or active standby, based on your configuration of sharded groups, sharded databases. Your deploy command will automatically configure RMAN duplicate with a data guard broker with a fast start failover. Then patching. You can do, because each shard won't share any storage, because it's a commodities server. It is a physical server located in different path based on your application, different world based on geographic. So when you do the patching, it won't impact other sharded databases. So you can do the normal patching. You can go for patch on sharded database, or you can patch Oracle Data Guard with a rolling fashion. You can patch if you are using, instead of active data guard, you want to replicate the data between SH1 and SH3, SH2 and SH4. You can go for Oracle Golden Gate also. So you have two choices for making disaster recovery. Either you can go for active data guard, or you can go for Oracle Golden Gate. Either way, the patch, it will do it in parallel, it will do it in a rolling model, and it won't impact your other sharded databases. Either Golden Gate or Oracle Active Data Guard, the deployment will take care of your complete disaster recovery configuration. And what and all holds good for maximum availability architecture, your MA architecture. It holds good for sharding also. So you can go for secure backup, you can enable block change tracking, you can offload the backups to physical standby. So everything, whatever you are doing, normal single instance, RAG database or Exadata or ODA, all features related to sharding also holds good, because this is not a separate rocket science. Just we are configuring based on GSM, the databases shards. So I hope you have got some idea what is Oracle sharding, what are the deployment models, what are the high availabilities, what are the capabilities of sharding. I hope you got some information on Oracle sharding. So
Yes.
any questions,
Yes.
I can take it. Yeah.
Thank you, Javi. We have 3 questions so far.
Yeah.
What is the scenario, for example, when you want to create data in several tables for a new customer ID?
So new customer ID, it is, as I told you, the metadata will be there on the shard catalog. Normal database, how you are going to insert the data or configure for new customer ID, it holds good for Oracle sharding also. The only thing is, initial setup, you should know based on your application table, you should know the sharding key. remaining and all as it is, how you are managing normal database, it holds good. Yeah.
Okay. The second one is, how about licensing? Is the Oracle sharding paid as a feature, or it's if we have Active Data Guard, we can use it?
Yeah. The licenses, when you are taking GSM software, and everybody knows that Oracle Enterprise Edition comes with Data Guard free, but Active Data Guard is an extra option.
Yes.
So I don't know how many people are aware of that. Maybe Oracle also, you can check with Oracle also. When you go for Oracle Golden Gate, you can use Active Data Guard also, but not vice versa. So when you need this sharding, the minimum requirements is Enterprise Edition. On top of that, if you want to replicate your shardets when you deploy automatically, you need either Golden Gate or Active Data Guard licenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one, it's, does this mean that any transaction should be performed effectively on the shard catalog only or not?
Correct. So good question. Good question. Most of the times we are sending either proxy routing or direct routing through the shard catalog, because shard catalog is the shard directors. Means when I know the sharding key, it has coming from which application server based on sharding key, either it is a direct routing or proxy routing, it has capable enough to send particular transactions to particular sharded databases. But the good question, I want to check whether you can directly insert. I think it is possible. You can directly insert to directly SH1, SH2 also in some prerequisites are you have to fulfill. Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to thank you so much for this incredible presentation, and also other guys. Now it's time to leave the stage with Lonica. Thank you a lot, Eve, for this sharding deep dive.
Thanks to LXOUG. Thanks to all for my presentation. Thanks again.
Welcome, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Monica?
Yeah, good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we are hearing you. Just share your screen.
Yes, I will. No,